speech is even longer than Warpo's act was. There are a lot of people here, past kings and other members of the Crew of Fools, that have had a hand in protecting street theater here in New Orleans, and this speech is going to pretty much be a big thank you for that. I came here in 2017 with a plan to stay 3 days and use the money I made busking to buy a ticket back to Key West. I quickly found out how hard it is to busk here. At the end of those 3 days, I not only didn't have the money to go home, I was broke. I also had a couch to crash on, a speaker to borrow, dozens of tips on how to improve my show, and new friends. So by the end of that week, I did have enough money to leave, and I didn't want to. I moved into a squat and stayed for another 10 days, quickly falling in love with New Orleans even more. I'm glad now that this is home base, I've been able to do the same thing for some new street performers, help them out in the same ways the community helped me.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah!
It seems all you have to do to be named King of Fools is you see a newbie, lend them a speaker, a couch to crash on, and tell them why their show sucks. You might think I'm being flippant. I'm not. It's actually a beautiful thing that in New Orleans, that's what makes you a king. The King of Fools is not a dictator or even a leader, just someone in this little community that does their part to protect the fragile anarchy holding this place together.
Yeah!
Worth protecting. New Orleans is a unique city for street performers. This is the only major street performing city in our country I know of without an audition or a permit. It's not a joke. Without the aid of a badge that tells people that we're allowed to be here, it can be difficult for some to see the difference between a busker and a beggar. That's probably why we play with that gray area of the art versus the hustle so gleefully here in New Orleans. 3 cups, 1 little red ball. I bet you can tell me which one it's hiding under. I bet I can tell you where you got your shoes. How many steps removed are we really? In a tuxedo or in rags, we play the fool. You can trace the role back to the gestures of medieval Europe. Most gestures performed on the street their whole career, but you could be recruited into the court and even gain the trust of the king by bravely delivering the public's grievances to him through humor, gaining his trust and maybe becoming his advisor, quite literally speaking truth to power. The same role was played by the Native American sacred clown, the Heyoka, who would wear clothes inside out, ride horses backwards, pull pranks on religious leaders, and provoke laughter in moments of despair. The Heyoka was meant to go against the grain, acting as a mirror. For example, if food was scarce, the Heyoka would complain of a full stomach. That is our ancestry. Whether with a guitar, a deck of cards, or juggling knives, we're still doing the same thing. We're telling stories around the campfire here. The footage I see and the stories I hear of what buskers were doing in the rebirth of street theater in the 70s and 80s, it's clear those buskers still played the role of contrarian. They were tricksters and rebels who shocked as they amazed. My critique of some of the audition and permitted cities out there is that sometimes they push buskers to be so sterile and squeaky clean that it might as well be a corporate gig. New Orleans performers have a deep, long history with the contrarian energy. From Keith the Balloonatic, Harry Anderson, Tumbleweed Tom and Mark Riggs, to Warpo, Dusty and Mason, and more, I think the chaotic spirit of street theater still thrives in this city, and it's partly because we operate as a community through anarchy. The performers and the artists in the French Quarter are constantly testing each other's boundaries, struggling for power. And most of the time we strike a balance and avoid any rigid hierarchy. If we can keep things peaceful and sort our differences out amongst ourselves, we don't need the red tape and restriction that so often smothers the spirit of the street. Long live the kindness and chaos that holds this place together.
Woo! Woo!
Long live a way of life worth protecting.
Woo!
Long live busking in New Orleans.
Yeah!